This is a Kindle, this is an iPad. If I combine it together, then it becomes this remarkable tablet. The Remarkable 2 tablet is a really interesting device, and in this video I want to talk about it because it fits within a pretty niche space, and it's something that not everyone will find that useful, and definitely not everyone will find it worth money, but as someone that likes to write stuff, I think that it's just about worth it. My name is Davido, I'm a doctor in Australia that loves to talk about technology, and the Remarkable tablet, it's a piece of tech that's kind of interesting. The actual display is an e-ink display, which means that it's not like the iPad display in the sense that it can't actually display any colors. In fact, it's pretty much identical to the Kindle display if you ever use one of those. When you physically look at it, it doesn't really strain your eyes that much. And so that's perhaps the main draw of it. But speaking of drawing, haha, you can draw it unlike a Kindle. So it comes with this neat stylus. If you ever had a Wacom Art tablet, this actually feels very, very similar. In fact, the tips are very, very similar. And when you physically draw on the page, you can annotate your different notes and stuff. The actual writing experience is like really smooth. You'll find that it surprises you when you first put the pen to the paper, so to speak, because it's actually really responsive for something that with e-ink we're kind of used to the Kindle where it is almost always lagging just a little bit to make it feel like it's not that responsive. I would say that the roughness also feels quite nice. If you're used to writing on paper, for example, I think that you will much more find this really good as opposed to writing on iPad where things feel just like a little bit too smooth. With regards to the weight and everyday use, the weight of it feels quite light. I can hold it on my fingers like this without too much hassle. The battery life of it is really quite good. It can last about 2 weeks or so, maybe even 3 weeks sometimes without charging it. I don't necessarily use it super duper often, but sometimes if I'm just like journaling in a diary and stuff like that, it's quite good. One of the things that you can do, and what I've done here, is you can actually load on PDF files onto it. And so that's probably the major thing that I find most useful because it allows you to actually annotate documents whilst almost writing on paper. One of the reasons that I really wanted to get this device was because I had a lot of medical journal articles that I wanted to read and annotate and that sort of thing. That was really, really handy that I could actually transfer all the PDFs onto this particular thing via Wi-Fi as well, and that allowed me to actually physically write in those different journals. Writing in the margins is not the funnest thing, so it's probably more ideal for like if you've got worksheets and that sort of thing and you're trying to work in little spaces. It's kind of like a replacement for paper. A bit of an expensive replacement, but a useful replacement regardless. The actual page organization is not necessarily the best because you've got the different files and stuff like that, and you can navigate this whole menu, but it's not the funnest thing in terms of the user experience. You can add different notebooks, and your notebooks themselves are just collations of pages. You can actually have little templates as well. So for example, if you prefer to write in a dot grid, that's something that you can do as well. There's two types of pens that you can get. One of them is the traditional marker, it doesn't have an eraser on the end. And then the other one's the more expensive brother of that, where it's got an eraser tip. You know, obviously there's no real eraser, it's just that if you flip it upside down, then you can physically erase stuff. To be honest, I haven't found that I needed that. It has an undo button and an erase button on the actual thing. You just have to do it a few taps, and it's not too bad of an experience even without the eraser function. The Folio case is like super duper nice, so that's the one I ended up getting, the book Folio. It's got this really nice leather finish to it. The only downside I would say is that it's pretty expensive for it. I think it's like $150 to $200 or something like that. So if you're going to buy the Remarkable, maybe you might want to consider whether you can get a custom case or something like that. But I did buy it. It does have this nice magnetic thing, comes off, you know, pretty nicely. Doesn't feel like I have to do too much force in order to open it, but also feels like it gives it a reasonable amount of protection and stuff. The actual border of it is kind of this nice aluminum finish, so it does look like a premium product and does feel like a premium product, and the button is tactile and nice as well at the top for sleeping. The memory I found is pretty good. I've loaded at least a few hundred files and I haven't had problems with the memory from that perspective. I find that sometimes it takes a little while to sync the files up because the app that they include on your PC or Mac, it's just a little bit on the clunky side. It's not too bad, but it's just that the syncing takes a little while. There is a thing that you can use called Live Beta. It sort of does a screen capture of what you're writing, so you can actually write at the same time and have it appear on your screen on your computer. And so that's quite useful if you're, for example, using it to annotate and give a lecture or record a small screen capture or video or something like that. The downsides of the Remarkable tablet. One, it is a bit expensive for what it is. I mean, could you just use $600 or $700 worth of paper and achieve the same result? Yeah, you probably could. I mean, it's not the best idea, but I think that the Remarkable tablet is good only if you're sort of wanting to not use as much paper and just keep things stored in some sort of electronic repository. Would you use a Remarkable tablet over an iPad? And I think that this is probably the major questions that's on people's minds. Is this an iPad replacement? I would say in general, probably not. I think that the iPad itself is very, very versatile. And if you're just wanting to, for example, replicate the surface of the iPad, you can try and use something like a paper-like screen protector, for example. But to use a Remarkable tablet means that you're locked very much into the Remarkable ecosystem, which works pretty much with nothing else. And it doesn't have any other function but writing. If you're trying to do a bit better for your eyes and reduce your eye strain, perhaps the Remarkable is the best. If you're also trying to reduce distractions, perhaps the Remarkable is the best. But apart from that, I would say that the iPad is probably a superior device in many other senses. So, final verdict, would I get the Remarkable 2 tablet again? I think I would. I think it's justified for the price that you actually pay for it. I think that it's useful to not get distracted, and it is useful to just write. For many people, that's actually all you would need. I think it's just more convenient than paper. I don't necessarily like wasting huge swaths of paper just to put on knowledge and probably never look at again. So having a Remarkable tablet is quite good. One other thing I should mention though is that the support for the Remarkable 2 tablet is pretty crap. There's been plenty of people on the subreddit that have complained about the support. They, for example, can't even fill their warranty if it breaks. The buttons break sometimes, and then in those particular cases, they try to get a refund for it, and the Remarkable 2 team basically doesn't care. That's kind of a really unfortunate thing about the Remarkable 2 tablet, which itself is like a really nice device, but the support is kind of one of the things that would dissuade me from, for example, getting a Remarkable 3 tablet, or even getting this tablet again if it was to break. Because basically, they're very happy to assist new customers to buy a tablet, but when it comes to their existing customers, they don't really treat them the best. I think they need to step up their game on that department. So, if you like this, oh, almost dropped it there. Not so remarkable if I break it. So if you like this video, please feel free to subscribe. I'll probably talk about more consumer tech in the future. Feel free to leave a comment if you think that you would want to have such a gigantic Kindle in your life, because that's essentially what this is. Alright, anyway, that's enough for today. Take care, bye.